The 15-member Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, has suspended Burkina Faso. The suspension follows a military coup in the country early this week. Ghana's president and acting ECOWAS chairperson Nana Akufo-Addo says he hopes the regional body will find solutions to restore constitutional order to Burkina Faso and stabilise the region at large.
ECOWAS chairperson Nana Akufo-Addo added that the rest of the world was looking to ECOWAS to be firm in the matter.
The resurgence of coups d'etats in our region is in direct violation of our democratic tenets and represents a threat to peace, security, and stability in West Africa. This situation hinders the much-needed economic and social development of the region. I've convened this meeting with the hope to address the urgent situation in Burkina Faso and find solutions that will restore constitutional order to Burkina Faso and stabilize the region at large. We should not renege in our collective duties and obligations to ensure a peaceful, democratic, just, stable, and prosperous community. I urge you to examine critically this rising phenomenon in our region so that we take the necessary decisions that meet the aspirations and expectations of our peoples. The rest of the world is looking up to us to be firm in this matter.
Army overthrew President Roch Kabore on Monday, presenting the latest test to the 15-member Economic Community of West African States, which has struggled to mount an effective response to a series of coups in the region over the past 18 months. ECOWAS and its international allies have condemned the coup in Burkina Faso, which they fear could further destabilize a country beset by militant violence, but find themselves with limited leverage. Pro-democracy activists say ECOWAS is suffering from a crisis of credibility, with West Africans losing faith in regional leaders they see as manipulating the democratic process and failing to alleviate poverty or contain insurgency violence. ECOWAS imposed sanctions against Mali and Guinea following military takeovers in August 2020 and September 2021 respectively. The Patriotic Movement for Preservation and Restoration, now governing Burkina Faso, has announced the suspension of the constitution and dissolution of the government and parliament until conditions are right.
African Affairs analyst and Channel Africa producer Izak Khomo is with us on Zoom to talk a little bit more about this unfolding saga in Burkina Faso and in the region indeed. A very good evening to you, Izak, and thank you so much for speaking to us. You've no doubt been watching developments around this. So this move by ECOWAS to suspend Burkina Faso from its regional bloc, do you think it'll have any effect at all?
Well, it was expected, number one. Number two, they've actually suspended Burkina Faso from the ECOWAS, and we are actually waiting for the AU. I think the AU will follow suit. But then that's not the end of the story, because ECOWAS is going to send a delegation to Ouagadougou to go and talk to the military strongmen. And it's only after that that we really know what the whole issue, what's involved. It will be remembered that if you look at Mali, Mali was suspended from the ECOWAS group and also from the AU. But then they imposed very heavy sanctions on Mali, whereby these sanctions are economic, communication, and also financial sanctions. But that has not even changed anything. So we'll see what's got to offer. It's not the end of the road yet. I think everybody, even the Burkinabes, are waiting to see what ECOWAS will come up with. But then ECOWAS now have actually learned a lesson that being tough is not a solution to the whole problem. They imposed heavy sanctions on Mali, but you'll find that the same thing was repeated in Burkina Faso. And one thing that is there is this, that the whole issue is being looked upon as a military takeover. But truly speaking, the military is actually trailing behind the civil organization. This whole issue of rebellion against the state is actually led by civil society, and the military is actually tagging on.
I mean, we had this discussion with an analyst earlier on in the week that there is a growing trend of this, what's being called the militarization of politics. But more importantly, referring to this phenomenon that you've alluded to, the fact that the military seem to be supporting a population that either feels disenfranchised or angry about, particularly in Burkina Faso, we're talking about insecurity, where hundreds of people have been killed, and President Kabore has been blamed for the inability to stem the attacks. Your thoughts on the responsibility that the military carries as a security agency? Do they not bear some responsibility in protecting civilians from attacks?
No, basically the military has got a job to guard against to guard the borders and also stability within the country. And we find that under the onslaught of the Islamists, the state has been shaken and the country has been shaken. Therefore, basically, even the citizens, their safety, as you mentioned, has actually been shaken. And it was the citizens who actually came up against the government. And I think the military, in doing so, they are literally doing something which is in tandem with the wants of the people. We have got to be very careful. Let us not treat this as a thing whereby there's a military strongman who's coming to take over power and imposing themselves, as in the past. Yeah, this basically, it is a type of takeover or overthrow that is heavily grounded in the people's wants. It actually, we have got to wait to see that will this relationship between the people or the masses and the military last forever. But so far in Burkina Faso and also in Mali, the military has vowed that they will be led by the dictates of the people. Now, that is a very important issue that people have got to follow. It is basically a popular rebellion against the state of affairs. And the state of affairs of Mali and also Burkina Faso, it's not that democracy is being taken away or democracy has been, democracy has been taken away and the country is going to disintegrate. Basically, democracy is dependent upon a stable country. And if the country is not stable, even in a democratic Western country, there's a state of emergency where civil liberties are actually curtailed. And I think these countries have got to that level.
I mean, you raise an interesting point. People who have said, and it's been written about, there's been a lot of literature about how we cannot be monolithic in our approach of democracy, democratic order in Africa in particular, doing a one-size-fits-all. But help us trace back what has happened in countries where this particular thing has happened, popular uprisings that you've said, or pro-democracy protests. We've seen that happen in Mali, we've seen that happen in the Sudan. I'll take Zimbabwe for an instance. Has it worked out the way the populace has hoped it will be? In Mali, for instance, the coup leader said they would not meet with ECOWAS or other multilateral institutions, saying that they cited security conditions, but said that they will announce a vote, return to civilian rule in 4 years' time instead. So there is that concern that those military, quote-unquote, saviors have then hung on to the very power that they said they are usurping for the people.
You know, it's a piece of take it to task. Huh? You are actually coming up with a statement that is very misleading.
It's a question that
not just a minute, let me finish. The military did not say they're going to hand over power in 4 years' time. The military, when they presented their proposal to the people, they said that they want to delay the elections of democratic return to democratic rule in a period between 6 months and 4 years. People don't talk about that 6 months, and they call the people to come and sit with them so they could discuss. In Mali, the military said that even if the vote had to take place in February, as per the time frame, it is only 6 out of about 60 electoral provinces that had the stability and peace where elections could take place. The rest of the country was unstable, and that was not a democratic situation. Now, the military actually called for a discussion on that. But somehow it's been said by SABC now, as you have said, that the military said that
I actually need to interject here because I think you're misrepresenting me. I asked a question and I actually used 3 different examples. Yeah. I used Zimbabwe as an example. I used Mali as an example.
Yeah,
I used I need to correct an impression that you're creating, that I've made a statement. I asked a question and I've asked you to compare all of these 3 very different places.
I'll compare it. I'll come there, but I was just deconstructing a statement, the narrative. I'm coming now. Now you find that within Zimbabwe, within the Sudan, and within other countries, the military is there, and the military is a bother. Yeah, they are actually an obstacle. That is because the military has not got the support, the popular support of the people. That is the difference between what is taking place in the Sahel and what is taking place in Sudan. In Sudan, the military is actually a stumbling block to the process towards democracy. Now, in the Sahel, the military is actually following where the citizens started from. It will be remembered that the citizens are the ones who actually went and attacked the ruling party of President Kabore. And the same thing happened in Mali. So basically, we should not compare Sudan and Mali. These are 2 different settings.
I think perhaps we're speaking past each other, and this is precisely why I use different situations to indicate that there are different outcomes. And this is why we have you here, Izak, to take us through why they are not the same, so that there is no plaster analysis of what happens in one country to the next. So we're asking you to take us through the different countries, what has happened and why there's a similarity drawn. So let's look at Burkina Faso. And I want us to talk about the military. They have spoken for the first time on television to talk about why they have taken over the country. They have said that Burkina Faso is under siege from armed groups. Who are those groups?
Those groups are Islamist groups affiliated to Al-Qaeda and also to ISIS. And those people have actually created havoc with over 2,000 people killed and over 1.5 million people who were forced to flee and also sort of become internal refugees. And not only that, now the thing has become bad because the military is being attacked. And it's been proven that the military does not have the capacity to fight the terrorists, the jihadists. And they've been asking the government to assist them in that respect. The government has done quite a number of things, but what they've done, they've reshuffled the leadership of the army. And that has not helped. So now the military is saying that they're not getting the support of the government. But more so, it is the people who said that the government is not doing enough to support the military. And again, they said that the French are not doing enough to actually help the country to curb the Islamic rebellions. So you find that the military basically is following track, is actually following what the people have been saying. That has been taken, that's what took place in Burkina Faso and also in Mali. Now that is the difference from Sudan. In Sudan, the military was the de facto state, not even the ruler, it was the de facto state under Bashir, And also, even with the rebellion, that rebellion was not moved or had the support of the people. In fact, they are an obstacle to what the people want. The people in Sudan, they want real democracy. The people in the Sahel, they want stability. One thing that people should know is this, that democracy is not an absolute factor. Democracy is very relevant, and some of the things that it's depend upon there being a stable, a stable, peaceful, and a security environment in the country. That's only when democracy will actually thrive.
And as you say, I mean, it's interesting that you now are circling back to the similarities. Analysis is different, and this is why we speak to different people. Let's talk about Paul-Henri Damiba. He's the coup leader. Who is he exactly, and what can we expect from him in terms of the outcome of this particular situation?
Well, Damiba gave a speech, and the only excerpts of the speech, and they actually compare his speech to a speech that Sankara gave. But talking to people on the scene in Mali and also in Burkina Faso, they said Damiba said that basically the military will be led by the people. Whatever he said that he's going to be led by the people, and the country will, once it's stabilized, it will return to democratic rule as directed by the people. Now you can find that basically he's actually bringing in the element of the people, trying to give them a stake in the whole process. Now, Damiba, he's something of an intellectual, and he's 41 years old. He has written a book specifically that covers the Islamic uprising in the Sahel region. So basically you can find that we could say that he's a political science specialist within the military. The military do have those people. And that's why you find that basically he has got a good connection with the political reality of the region and of the country. So as how far he will succeed, we do not know. But it should be remembered that Burkina Faso has got a very powerful civil society. That civil society is the one that came up and actually protested and made the former strong man of Burkina Faso, the man who overthrew Sankara, to flee the country. You see, so basically he's dealing with a country that if he goes against the wishes of the people are well-tuned, they can actually get rid of him too.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Izak Khomo, African Affairs analyst and Channel Africa producer, my colleague, in fact, Izak Khomo. And we're moving on to